Hey, Will.
Hey, Shawn, how are you?
Good, good. I'm so excited that you're singing Two Black Churches again
Yeah.
for this concert.
hmm
I was super humbled and excited and grateful
mm
for the great reception received
hmm
at the world premiere.
Yeah.
Uh, so many people, I think probably close to 6,000 views on my personal Facebook page. Uh,
Really?
yeah, yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
Of just, and that's not
So
including.
that was wow. Because
Yeah,
I've been off social media for a bit, so I haven't seen,
yeah.
like the
It's close in terms of
yeah.
shares, close to 6,000 views, and that's not including
Wow.
the
Yeah.
the actual performance that
Right. Yeah.
Paula did, and so
Wow.
people are connecting to it.
Yeah.
I would like to say it's because of your brilliant singing and my
mm
music, but I think
Yeah.
it's because it's so relevant now.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember we had talked about kind of like how we came up with this. I mean, this beautiful, like heartbreaking piece that you set, and it's so relevant to today. And originally we were gonna plan on. I was gonna do an album of all Black composers, and Two Black Churches was gonna be like the world premiere on the a CD that I'm doing. But after recent events, it just seems so important to have this work be presented now and in this moment and in this space because um, we needed to have it out there. Um, yeah.
So, so Will and I go way back. I'm a professor at Wheaton College Conservatory of Music, where Will did his undergrad. Now, here's the thing: I came in 2010, and he graduated in 2010, so we never overlapped at the school.
Yeah, that's right.
But Will being a distinguished alum, Juilliard graduate, famous and all, at
Okay.
age 23 or 22,
Uh,
I quickly got on the Will Liverman bandwagon. No,
oh, please.
no. But what's cool about it is I was doing an album of spirituals
Mm,
called Steal Away, um, and, um, and I was in the middle of it. Actually, I don't know if I was in the middle of it or beginning of it, but I heard you.
mm,
I said I want to do this album. I think
mm.
it's so important. I'm into spirituals. I want to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of post tenure. I wanted to do something that I cared about, what
Yeah.
mom would like, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
And Will said yes, and so I ended up writing. I think I had two maybe written already, and I ended up
hmm
writing the rest for Will and also for Janae Bridges, who's also obviously well from the Ryan Opera Center.
hmm
And that project was a beautiful project that was also well received. But I think
hmm
most importantly, we developed this relationship of
Yeah.
not just that goes beyond just composer, performer,
hmm
collaborator, but also a really special friendship.
Absolutely.
That's so
Yeah.
beautiful when making music together.
Yeah. I gotta say, I remember I think it was like some Wheaton event where I met you, and you presented me with the idea of like being a part of your album for spirituals, and I remember when you gave me, I think it was maybe, was it Deep River? Was that one of the first ones?
You can steal
Ugh,
that. I can't remember.
Steal
Yeah.
Away, Steal Away, yeah, Steal Away. But one of the things I've always been so drawn about your music is just how you tell the story within your writing. Like every single thing that you do has a meaning and there's a purpose, and you can envision the picture is so clear, and that for me it just made it easier to sing because I didn't really have to do anything, just deliver the text. Really, everything is just set in a way where you're just drawn in, like all the piano solos that you have. It's a true partnership between piano and voice to tell the story, these spirituals that were reimagined and just set in a way that were so poignant and meaningful. And I was so happy to be a part of Steal Away. It was such a special project, and Like I sing, I wave the Shawn Okpebholo like flag like all everywhere I go.
That's
You know,
nice.
your spirituals are always on my program somewhere. You know, like it's such great music that needs to be out there, needs to be shared, and like needs to be a part of the standard. It is a part of now, you know, the standard repertoire that, you know, singers, you know, should know and sing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I kind of joke. We'll start off with this love fest here. But I kind of joke that I think it's half true that I'm almost like a fraud as a composer because I write this music, okay, and people like Will and Paul Sanchez, the pianist, and even Janae, they just take it other level, okay. As a composer, I get like a lot of credit, but I'm like, I write this music, but they add so much nuance, so much. It's I mean, their whole being is in the music, and I call it honestly embodied artistry. And so when Will approached me for this commission, now mind you, I wrote about, I guess, I don't know, about 8 pieces for Will already, including another album that's hopefully coming out soon.
Can't wait.
So mind you, I've gotten to know Will's voice. You know, I mean, I know it well. I listen to him. I follow his career, and so to write Two Black Churches, you know, I'm writing for Will Liverman. I'm writing for Paul Sanchez, the pianist, because I know their you know, their style, what they can do. Now, Will and Paul will tell you that I have no problems pushing them to their absolute limits. But they deliver, and they deliver so well, and so you know, and a part of the collaboration is, I think, you know, feedback that is well received, you know. So, you know, Will text me and says, you know, what if I, you know, try this, you know, and I don't think there's any time I'm like, no, you shouldn't do that, because
right. You're actually, I remember, when I would incorporate like, oh, what about throw a high G in this, wade in the water, and you're like, oh, okay, well, let's see how it goes. You know, like there's always been a collaboration in that way where it's, you know, nothing was ever like, this is final, this is what it has to be. I mean, of course, you know, we're not trying to change, but like if we had ideas and brought them to you, you're very open and like,
right.
It was always a collaboration when we were, you know, in the studio recording, and, you know.
Well, it's funny, and there's been sometimes, more than sometimes, where, you know, we'll be in a studio recording one of my pieces, and then Will does, you know, he goes way up high and does something, and I was like, maybe you write that music. And so the music actually has changed, you know, because I was like, okay, I like. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, okay, I hear it. I'll change it.
It just comes out of me from the music. I put in like a little run here or there. It's just like, I don't know. Some of it is just, it's so, I'm so connected to it that it's, you know, it's incorporating some of those higher things. I remember, you know, it was that first, I'm trying to remember what specifically, and no matter what it was, I've always been, it's always been fun, you know, and easy to work with you because, you know, you've always been open to our ideas, and it really felt like we're all creating this, you know, music that you wrote together and bringing it to life and telling the story of what's happening in each of the pieces. And so that's why I knew, like, Two Black Churches, I mean, you had to write that. Like, it's, you know, there's no other person that could do it.
Can you tell me how this idea came about? I mean,
yeah, well,
I kind of worked on it together, but you were the initial.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it gets a little, I mean, for me, we had talked a little bit about this, was maybe it was a few years ago when the Philando Castile murder happened. And, you know, it was that it kind of struck a chord but along with like all the other Black killings that we just kept seeing over and over and over again, and just how some people kind of spin this narrative of like, oh well, you know, it's not racial, you know, he was reaching for his pocket, he was running towards cops and running away for the cops, like all these things, and kind of, you know, turning a blind eye, you know, to the racial tensions in this country. You know, racism isn't a feeling. It's, you know, we as Black people experience racism, you know, every day. And it's been a part of our history. And so it got me thinking about like just my father and like his experiences growing up in the segregated Virginia, like coloreds and whites, like that was, he, you know, he lived through those things. In certain parts of, you know, the neighborhood he couldn't go to at night because like the KKK would be roaming around in like certain areas, and like all those things just got me just thinking about, you know, just the terrible history that we have in this country when it comes to racial tensions and racial problems, and going to the civil rights movement, and revisiting that. It was the Birmingham bombing that really also struck a chord with me, because, you know, growing up, you know, I grew up in church, and so, you know, we growing up in church, you know, it's something that I what really just resonated with in a new way that was so heartbreaking. And when I came across the poem Ballad of Birmingham, which tells the story of like one of these girls, you know, they want to go out and, you know, march the streets of Birmingham for freedom, and the mom says no, you know, I'm terrified that you know, you might get shot, or a dog will bite you, or you'll get hosed, you know, but you can go to church, you can sing in a choir, and, you know, go to a place of security and peace. And to have that bombing happen, and the place where, you know, the mom thought was a place of safety and security turned out to be the place where her daughter dies. And just, you know, sitting with that reality of is like of something that can actually happen. You know, I had to bring you this poem and be like, Shawn, can you set this? And I remember you had the idea of kind of doing a parallel to the Charleston shooting, which, you know, where you commissioned Marcus, and I guess you could talk more about that part of it, because it's like the two parts. You know,
yeah. And something about that, you know, the Battle of Birmingham and the Birmingham bombing, is that I wanted to do something recent to show that like these things are still happening. You know, decades later, you know, and churches were a place of refuge and security and peace. So my friend, pianist Paul Sanchez, who we referenced earlier, he lives in Charleston, and so he said, Shawn, you should reach out to this poet, Marcus Amaker, who was actually a poet laureate of Charleston, South Carolina. So I have no problems cold calling people, emailing people, or sending them direct messages. And I said, Marcus, you don't know me, you don't know Will, you don't know Paul, but here's what I'm thinking. And he loved it, and he wrote this beautiful poem. It was absolutely incredible. And I told him I wanted something like the Battle of Charleston, you know, kind of the Battle of Birmingham. A different level. I don't know why I'm giving him ideas. So he took it to a different level, and he writes this incredible poem. You know, this beautiful metaphor of flooding and racism. You know, Charleston is a coastal city, and it floods a lot. Okay, and it was a parallel to the idea that like Black people can't, because of racism, because of the flood of racism, we can't keep our head above water. You know,
like still dealing with injustice, still dealing with these things that happen to us, and you know.
And I read the poem, and I read it. I'm like, this is incredible. The piece in my mind in the beginning was something called two church ballads, or or something like that. But I decided to call it Two Black Churches because again, these things happen in Black sacred spaces at the hands of white supremacists. But yeah, and I guess I can sometimes talk a little bit about the music and what went into that. But as far as how it came about, that was how it came about.
And I remember when you sent me it was just like the MIDI file, just no singing, it was just like da da, but just listening to the music, and following along with the words, I was in tears, like both songs, and it took honestly a few tries of singing through it to learn how to like find that balance of like reliving these horrific and just terrible stories, but also like I still have to sing, and like get it out there.
I thought in the premiere, I was like, hold it together. I thought it was fantastic. I was like, hold it together, because at one point, I was like, oh wow. That was the biggest. I would say one of the most common responses to Two Black Churches is that it just brought me to tears, and because of the message, obviously the performance. But yeah, that was a very special, very special moment.
No, it was a really beautiful thing, and I'm glad that we, put that out there because just tying back around to the beginning, it's so relevant to, all the things that are going on today with social issues and issues of racism, and it's a message that people needed to hear, and it was just so beautifully set, Shawn, and even still like just singing this piece, it's so meaningful, and for me, especially being a church kid, and just thinking about the fact that like you're saying, these people that attended this church, you think that they're safe and it's a place of peace and refuge, and have those things happen is yeah.
So,
I'm go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so let's talk a bit about the piece.
Yeah.
I wanted, to me, these were art songs, okay? And they're also, I consider them duos between the piano and the vocals. It's definitely a duet.
Definitely. Yeah.
So let's start with Battle of Birmingham. That I wanted to try to recreate, in many ways, the Black church sound, but also my style as a contemporary classical composer, whatever that is. And so it was an amalgam of that. But I contacted and talked with people that were alive during that time, and I said, what were you singing in Birmingham at church during that time? And
wow.
Amazing Grace. And so, which is a very popular hymn in all churches. So I was like, I wanted to somehow quote that. And also the civil rights anthem, "We Shall Overcome." That's kind of quoted in there. There is a child theme throughout, and so when I compose music, and this is maybe a controversial statement as a composer, but like anytime you have text, I think the text has become the most important part. So before I write a single note, I sit with the text forever. I read it. I read it out loud. I put it away. If it's an older text like Battle of Birmingham, I read about the text. I read about the poet, so I can understand what these texts, what they mean. And then I compose. So that was the idea behind Two Black Churches.
Mm-hmm.
The poem is pretty strophic, but the piece is kind of rhapsodic in nature, though I think it's, weighty and
Oh,
serious.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, that's the thing, just going back to how well you tell the story, because you pay such close attention to the text and what's being said, and the moments that touch me the most are actually the piano part, like that partnership and what's happening in the piano that paints the picture, of like with the gospel music playing and things within the rain, the "'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus" theme that comes. It just, that catches me every time, and I have to, like, okay, gotta sing now, like, there's like, you're telling the text in that piano, and it tells its own story, and when I come in and sing, it's all just a beautifully well done collaboration, and how we present this together. It's really special.
You mentioned the rain. For the rain, that was different. Like, so I actually watched the service. The service
yeah.
After the first service after the bombing at the church, and towards the end, they sang "'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus," which of like, it was a testimony of the church, choosing, faith and hope over fear, and so I said, I have to add that in, and somehow, one major theme of that was I kept getting struck by the number 9, which 9 people died, and so I wanted somebody to write a piece where 9 was prominent. So I did that through meter. There's this 9 chord progression, 9-note chord progression, that kind of recurs throughout the piece, and so that was that idea, but then the idea of water and flowing, and you get that throughout this piece. The rain is very different than Battle of Birmingham. I think they pair well, but they're very different. But it's interesting because you write this music, the things are in your head,
right?
You don't really feel it until the performers are actually singing it. So I remember this was the rehearsal. Okay. Rehearsal. The rain. It starts with just Will Liverman singing. And the first words, the reality of racism. And when I heard when he sings racism, that just hit me. Okay, I don't know how many pieces that have the word racism in the music. And when you leaned on the word racism, it just really hit me. And then the quote of "'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus" comes in. And it just goes from there. Like,
already from the
issues.
It's just like, like, I'd rather be listening than trying to like sing and get through this. But I mean, everything that you did with Two Black Churches and how you said it, and the themes and motivations behind it, the hymns that are quoted, like it's just so poignant and special, and just unlike anything I've heard before. And it's I'm so excited to have performed it and presented out there with you. And and I remember that first rehearsal, putting it all together for the first time, because we're all practicing our own things, and like you've set this, but you haven't heard us like come together yet. And Paul started that Ballad of Birmingham, and we started rolling with it, and it was just like, there's an energy that just came over the whole room, where people just kind of just stopped and just tuned in and was like, what is this that's happening? It was such a special moment to see it all come together. I'm so happy to be doing it again with Lyric and presenting this piece.
Grateful.
I want to always keep it in the repertoire, and I can't wait to record it. And yeah.
Well, I'm Will.
Bravo, Shawn.
I'm grateful. No, thank you. I'm grateful for you. Again, you know, again, this partnership, it just goes beyond music. You know, it's like we're family, we're brothers, and we're creating art. And so, Two Black Churches. Right now, it's like my favorite. I'm loving it right now, but I just feel like that. Well, I know for sure that there will be more pieces that come out of
oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
I have a few ideas that I haven't even
right.
busy with like a lot of writing, but like stay tuned. You got some emails coming from me.
Right. So
with yeah.
Yeah, right. I hear you. So, but anyway, so I hope you all enjoy Two Black Churches. It was anyway. It's a very special piece, and yeah. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.